Welcome, everybody, into the Willadelphia show. My name is Will Barbera, and thanks for tuning in one more time. We have a very special edition of the podcast. We are going to do a 2026 first round mock draft. Today is April 11th, which means the mock draft is just about a week or so away. And with me are a couple of my buds here to help me break it down and let you guys know who's going where. With me is my good friend Ethan Coulehan, who is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. And I have Porter Kelly over here, who is a Dallas Cowboys fan. Boo! 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 You disgust me.
Gonna make me cry again.
Anyways, he's actually a pretty cool guy. But yeah, we are gonna do our mock draft, and we're just gonna take turns going in order. All right, so Porter's gonna do the first pick. Ethan will have the second pick. I'll have the third. And we'll go around like a lazy Susan until we get to the 32nd. So starting things off with the number 1 overall pick, the Las Vegas Raiders. Who are they going to take? And it's going to be a big surprise, I'm sure.
Hey, man, you guys made my job pretty easy here. No stress here in the first one. I don't really have to make a decision. I don't think Kirk Cousins signing is going to deter the Raiders from taking their quarterback of the future and going with Fernando Mendoza.
All right. For Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza going to the Raiders. That brings up Ethan with the second overall pick, which is the New York Jets. Ethan, who are they taking?
I'm gonna go Reese from Ohio State. You know what? No. I'm gonna go David Bailey. I don't want to pick a Buckeye in this draft. We're gonna go David Bailey, edge from Texas Tech.
All right, David Bailey, edge from Texas Tech. All right. That's going to bring up me with the third overall pick, which means the Arizona Cardinals are on the clock. And, well, I think they probably would have taken Bailey here if had the Jets taken Reese. So I think they'll just do a little flip-flop, and they will take Ardvell Reese, linebacker from Ohio State, because they need help everywhere.
That's an understatement. I guess I have the Titans now at 4.
Yeah.
They could go different directions. They could take one of the best overall players in the draft, in my opinion, in Jeremiah Love. Just the positional value is what knocks him down a little bit. But they just hired Robert Saleh, defensive mind. I think they're gonna let him do what he wants there, and he's gonna go defense and go with Ruben Bain.
Ruben Bain, edge rusher out of Miami with the 4th overall pick. Passing up on Jeremiah Love here. So, all right, that would be very interesting. But it does bring up the New York Football Giants with the 5th overall pick in the draft. Ethan, who are the Giants going to take?
I think they would go Sonny Styles here if the draft played out this way. I think they would go Sonny Styles. I think it's one of the best overall defenders in this draft, so I'll go Styles.
All right, Sonny Styles is going to join John Harbaugh's defense in his first year in New York. Which means I have the 6th overall pick, which is the Cleveland Browns. I think that Jeremiah Love is the best player available on the board here, but after they took Quinshon Judkins last year, I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense for them to take a running back. They obviously need help on the offensive line. Now, whether you go Francis Mauigoa or whether you go Spencer Fano here, we could talk about. But I think they'll probably take the more sure tackle prospect, and I do think that is Spencer Fano. So I'm going to take Spencer Fano here. I think Fano is the best overall tackle prospect in the draft. I think Mauigoa probably has a little bit better of an athletic grade based off the combine and things like that. But yeah, I think that I like Fano's ceiling a lot more. So I'm going to go with him.
The way the board has fallen here for the Commanders at 7, a lot of people haven't taken edges with Bailey, Reese, and Bain all off the board. And Styles going 5th. A lot of the defensive playmakers that they'd be interested in are already off the board. And I think with that being said, they'll go with an offensive playmaker instead. You could go receiver, but with Jeremiah Love still on the board, I think they'll form one of the better backfield duos with Jaden Daniels and Jeremiah Love and just try to go all offense here.
Nah, man, they got your Corey Krosky Merritt, so that's a no-go.
You're just because you're a divisional rival, that's why you're.
Dude, what are you talking about? Bill Barrett is so good. He is actually kind of a dog, but yeah. Not enough that you're not going to take Jeremiah Love if he's available there. All right, that means I have the 8th overall pick, which means I have the New Orleans Saints. And I think they are going to go wide receiver here. They're going to get Tyler Shuck a weapon. Now, some people then maybe Mekhi Lemon's better than Carnell Tate. Maybe Jordan Tyson's the best available receiver. I am going to take Carnell Tate. I think his body of work in Ohio State speaks for itself. And I do think he's probably the number 1 receiver that I would take in this draft. So Carnell Tate is going to go to the New Orleans Saints. All right, Ethan, Kansas City Chiefs are on the clock. What are they taking?
Yeah, well, I'm going to go. Ooh, this is tough. I think I'm going to go corner. It's what cornerback they would prefer. I like Delane from LSU, so I'm going to go him. I think he's a little better than McCoy from Tennessee.
All right, Mansour Delane from LSU taking over for Trent McDuffie in the Chiefs secondary there. All right, that brings up the 10th overall pick. Porter, who are the Cincinnati Bengals going to take here?
I think they're looking at 2 players, the fall of Francis Mauigoa and Caleb Downs. But I think they really just need to protect Joe Burrow. He's their franchise guy. They're not going to go anywhere if he's injured all the time. So I'm going to give them tackle out of Miami, Francis Mauigoa.
It's interesting. I understand the thought there, but it'll be interesting to see if Cincinnati decides to take O-line over all of the holes they had defensively, especially with a draft that's this deep on the defensive line. Like they could have their pick of a bunch of like a Mesidor still on the board, Keldrick Falk. Like there's a lot of really good edge rushers, but I think this would still be a really good pick for them. It addresses a need. So, all right, well that brings up me with the 11th pick, and it is the Miami Dolphins. I have a hard time seeing them pass up on Caleb Downs if he is here. They're at 11. So I think that they will take Ohio State safety Caleb Downs. They need a lot of help at the back end of that secondary. And like I said about Maui going to the Bengals, I think it fills an obvious need. So Caleb Downs to the Dolphins. All right, well, you got to treat Porter nice here because Ethan has the 12th overall pick, which belongs to the Dallas Cowboys. Who are they taking?
I think they got to go defense. They got 2 first-round picks, another one coming at 20. So I think they're going defense, and I'm going to go Mesidor from Miami.
Akeem Mesidor going to the Dallas Cowboys with the 12th overall pick. All right, that brings up the Los Angeles Rams with the 13th overall pick. Who are they taking? Porter.
First of all, I'd be absolutely devastated if they went Mesidor at 12. Just saying. Just going to throw that up there.
No one cares. Who are they? That's why I did. Who are the Rams taking?
The Rams, with the holes, or not, they don't really have holes. They're built to win right now. And a lot of the time before the McDuffie trade and free agency and all that, they went corner for me here at 13. But with McDuffie, with Jalen Watson, I don't think they need to go there anymore. And with the question marks around Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams getting up there in age, I think they go with someone. But they go with a receiver, and for them, I feel like they'd prefer Lemon just because they already have those question marks with the receivers they have in their room. They don't want to have more question marks with injuries from Jordan Tyson. So they will take Mekhi Lemon here at 13.
All right, Mekhi Lemon joining an already dangerous receiving core in LA with Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. And that brings up me with the 14th overall pick, which is the Baltimore Ravens. So you have a couple different ways you could go here. I think I am going to go with Jordan Tyson, wide receiver out of Arizona State. You give Lamar a solid number 1 option to pair with Zay Flowers. A lot of people I've seen going with Kenyon Sadiq here because of likely leaving for the Giants in free agency. Did think about that as well, but I like Tyson's upside, and I think he has a higher ceiling than really any tight end in this draft, in my opinion, even though I'm a big fan of Sadiq. But I am going to go with Jordan Tyson here to pair with Lamar Jackson. So Jordan Tyson at 14, which means Ethan.
Ethan.
Yeah, Ethan. Who are you taking with the 15th pick for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
This is tough. I'm gonna go protection for Baker, and I'm gonna go Monroe Freeling from Georgia.
All right. Yeah, I mean, they could definitely use it, especially with how, Wirfs was hurt for a little bit last year. They had a lot of trouble on the right side of the line in particular, so Freeling can kind of shore that up. Hopefully keep Baker a little more upright.
Yeah, he was banged up last year.
Yeah. All right, Porter, with the 16th overall pick, who are the New York Jets going to take?
There's a couple ways they could go here. Obviously, this is their pick from the Colts. They already went David Bailey with pick number 2, and they traded Sauce Gardner for this pick, so we could go corner here to replace him. But I think I'm going to go in a different direction and give them Vega Iwane, the offensive lineman from Penn State. That will fill up their whole offensive line. Like, they will be good and won't have to worry about it for a while. They're all young and talented, and that's a luxury in the NFL. They have Membu on the outside. They have Tippmann on the inside. They just have Olufashinu as well on the outside. They won't have to worry about O-line for quite a while, and that's a luxury for your future quarterback of the future, which I wouldn't say is Geno Smith at this point.
What are you talking? All right, with the 17th overall pick, I am on the clock, and I am picking for the Detroit Lions. So, they need a tackle, in my opinion. I think that's probably their biggest need, which means you probably are thinking Caden Proctor here. Now, part of me is thinking about Jermod McCoy just because I think he's good enough that they have to consider him there. And, they've had a lot of injuries in the secondary over the years. I feel like this is too high to take Proctor, and that's why I think I am going to end up going with Jermod McCoy here. So Tennessee corner Jermod McCoy going to the Detroit Lions in 17. All right, Ethan, 18th overall pick, the Minnesota Vikings are on the clock.
There's a lot. Minnesota's kind of a difficult team to kind of wage where they're going to go. I'm going to go... I think I'm going to go with Dylan. Dylan from Oregon. Yeah, I think I'm going to go him. I think it's a toss-up. I was going to go where he just went, but I'll go.
Yeah, Thieneman, I mean, we talked about it a little bit before, but Harrison Smith, will he come back, will he not come back? I think it would be a good idea for the Vikings to at least have a backup plan in case he is not suited up in Vikings purple this coming season. And that brings up the 19th overall pick, which belongs to the Carolina Panthers. Porter.
I think if you're the Panthers, Bryce Young showed you a lot last season. You want to get him another weapon. The top 3 receivers are off the board already. Kenyon Sadiq is pretty much like a receiver at this point. You can line him up out there, but he's just a freak athlete, just a great target for Bryce Young. And if Bryce Young continues to grow, not height-wise, I'm pretty sure he's done with that, but as a player, Kenyon Sadiq. Who's that best? This Panthers team could be a force in the NFC South. So we're going Kenyon Sadiq.
Kenyon Sadiq to the Carolina Panthers, which brings up the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, I get the Dallas Cowboys with the 20th overall pick.
You will get the Eagles later, though, so.
That's true. Where is Carson Beck?
Do it.
You were giving me Mazador at 12.
I'll be nice. I'll be nice. Who did the Cowboys take? Or they took Mazador. So
He's a good player.
You're gonna have to take
5 years old, is it?
You're gonna have to take another defensive player here, and I think they will address the secondary. It's a toss up for me between Emmanuel McNeil Warren and Avion Terrell.
Yeah.
I think McNeil Warren is the better of the two players. But I think that they probably need corner more than they need safety. And for that reason, I'm going to take Avion Terrell out of Clemson. So there you go, Port. How you feel?
Better than Mesidor. I said Nash. But if the Cowboys left this draft with Terrell and Mesidor, I don't think I'd do that.
Well, no one cares. So we're moving on to the
US.
Pittsburgh Steelers. just so I could shut you back down. That's the only reason. All right, Pittsburgh Steelers. Ethan, you do get the Steelers with the 21st overall pick. Who's your team taking?
You're dramatic, by the way, Porter. I've been thinking long of
You're so
this.
true all over.
If this is where we were at, and this is what happened with Pittsburgh, I think I would go wide receiver. And I think I'm going to go KC. I think I'm going to go Concepcion.
All right. Pair with Metcalf and didn't you just sign another?
Yeah, so you signed Michael Pittman, but outside of that, it's literally just those two. And we have a deep tight end room, but I think Steelers need to do a better job of building that depth at wide receiver, which is why I would draft one here.
All right. Well, Porter, that brings up you for the Los Angeles Chargers and the 22nd pick. Who are they taking?
I hope I take who you want with the Eagles, but I'm not drafting to do that. I'm drafting because what I think the Chargers could do. And I think what they could do is take Caden Proctor here. Because I feel like they have two tackles with Alt and Slater, but so if they're both healthy, Proctor could slide inside, which I think might be his more natural position in the NFL.
I've read a lot about that. I think most experts assume that he will eventually be moved inside. So, yeah.
But with Slater and Alt both having injury problems, he's also an option to move back out if there's an injury. Just gives him more flexibility and potentially a really good guard or tackle.
All right, so Caden Proctor going to the Chargers at 22, which brings up one with the Philadelphia Eagles at 23. Oh my God, I love it. So yeah, a couple different ways you could go here. A lot of people want them to go edge, or you could go with Keldrick Falk or TJ Parker. A lot of people want safety help to replace Reed Blankenship. There's Emmanuel McNeil Warren still on the board. A lot of people want a receiver. There's guys like Denzel Boston and Omar Cooper Jr. But I think, and I've been saying for a while, that this is a pick that I think the Eagles need to use on an offensive tackle that could eventually replace Lane Johnson. Because the Eagles have been spoiled. I mean, Lane Johnson's been an absolute luxury for the past 13 years. We haven't had to worry about the right side of our offensive line. Second he retires, that's going to change if we don't make sure we have a plan in place. So with that being said, I think they're going to take Caleb Lomu out of Utah here to be Lane Johnson's replacement. It's not the flashiest pick, but I think it makes a little sense for them. And I think Howie's going to draft based off of that more than immediate. So. All right, so the Eagles take Caleb Lomu, which brings up the 24th pick, which belongs to the Cleveland Browns. Ethan, to be honest,
I'm going to go wide receiver again. I'm going to go Mark Cooper Jr. I think he could have been someone that Pittsburgh could have taken as well. I think it was between him and Concepcion. So I think Cleveland will go Cooper Jr. I know there's a lot of other needs. I think the Browns are not in a good position right now. I don't think they necessarily helped themselves with last year's draft, but I'm going to go Cooper Jr.
All right, Omar Cooper Jr. to the Cleveland Browns. Be paired up with Shador Sanders. Porter, with the 25th overall pick, the Chicago Bears are on the clock. Who are they taking?
First, I thought interior defensive line. None of them have really gone off the board. True interior defensive line. I like Caleb Banks out of Florida. I like Caden McDonald out of Ohio State. But then I'm pivoted, and I'm going to pick one of my favorite players in the draft, and that's safety Emmanuel McNeil Warren. He is just a playmaker at safety, is what it really is. literally scares receivers for catching the ball over the middle. And that's something the Bears could use in their secondary. And they take him here, one of my favorite players in the draft.
After losing Jaquan Brisker to the Steelers in free agency, they obviously had Kevin Byard, who led the NFL in interceptions last year. So McNeil Warren shores up both safety positions there. So I think that's a solid pick for that. All right, we are going to Maine with the 26th pick, and the Buffalo Bills are on the clock. Yeah, this is interesting. I think they're gonna go edge here. And I'm torn between both Keldrick Falk and TJ Parker. I think I'm gonna go Keldrick Falk. I think that he's a much better much better one defender than he is a pass rusher for an edge. But I think it still fits a need for the Bills, who struggled to defend the run a lot of games last year. So Keldrick Falk out of Auburn to the Bills defense, which brings up the San Francisco 49ers at 27 for Ethan.
I could go wide receiver for my third straight pick, bless you. But I'm going to go protection. I'm going to go Blake Miller from Clemson. I think protecting Brock Purdy is going to be a key. And then I think you mentioned this earlier. This is a pretty deep wide receiver draft class. So I think San Francisco can get a couple guys later. So I'm going to go Miller.
All right, Blake Miller to San Francisco. Porter, with the 28th pick, you have the Houston Texans on the clock. Who are they going to take?
I think they could go interior of either side of the ball, offensive line or defensive line. I just think the value of the way the board's fallen so far is on the defensive side. So I'm going to go with Caden McDonald, defensive lineman out of Ohio State.
All right. True nose tackle going to Houston for D'Amico Ryans' defense. And that brings up me with Kansas City at 29. We had them take Mansour Delane with their first round pick. I think that they seem like they could use an edge, but I've been thinking about giving them a receiver to kind of pair with Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice and kind of round out that receiving core. Obviously, they have Travis Kelce returning. And because of all of those reasons, I think, oh, man. Yeah, you know what? I am going to do it. I'm Denzel Boston, wide receiver out of Washington, to the Chiefs here. The last second, I thought about giving him Cassius Howard, but just because I'm a big Cassius Howard fan, I'm very high on it. But yeah, I'm going to go with Boston. All right, Ethan, with the 30th overall pick, the Miami Dolphins via the Denver Broncos in the Jalen Waddle trade. They are on the clock. Who are they going to take?
If Miami was all in on Quinn Ewers, do you think they would have signed Tyler Huntley? I am so tempted to take Ty Simpson here. I think his stock is rising to where I think he's going to go first round.
Did you mean Malik Willis?
Yeah.
I was like,
Tyler Huntley was a Dolphin. Yeah, I was there all about it. But man, I think Miami has other needs right now. Ty Simpson to me doesn't seem like a pick that they will plug in immediately. So I'm gonna go defense. And I'm gonna go CJ Allen from Georgia.
all right, so C.J. Allen, linebacker out of Georgia to Miami. And that brings up Porter with the 31st overall pick. The New England Patriots are going to take who?
I'm thinking edge here, just the way the board's fallen. They could go offensive line as well. We saw what happened to them in the Super Bowl. But there are some good edges still on the board here. And unlike you, I'm not a big Cassius Howell guy. But I do like Malachi Lawrence from UCF. I think he's like Ty Simpson, a prospect on the rise. And I think he could sneak into the first round over guys like TJ Parker and Mr. Short Arms Cassius Howell. So I'm going to go with Malachi Lawrence.
didn't care for that short. But whatever. So with the final pick in the first round, the Seattle Seahawks, the reigning Super Bowl champions, and the 32nd pick, they're on the clock, and it is me. Couple ways I'm thinking here. They lost Boye Mafe, and there are a couple good edges on the board. I already talked about how I like Cassius Howell. I also like TJ Parker, and we're both still on the board. Other thing is they did lose Tariq Woolen at that second corner spot, and they probably need somebody to pair with Devin Witherspoon. Colton Hood, I'm a big fan of out of Tennessee.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give him Colton Hood out of Tennessee. Kind of shore up that secondary, have them replace Tariq Woolen. So that is gonna do it. That concludes this mock draft on the Willadelphia show. Yeah, thanks so much for tuning in once again. Thanks so much to Ethan Coulehan and Porter Kelly for doing it with me. And we will post the entire mock draft results for you, so you can see how we did, and tell us how we did in the comments. But make sure to like and subscribe to Willadelphia Sports, and follow us on all social media posts going forward. And thanks again for tuning in. My name is Will Barbera. This has been the Willadelphia Show. We'll see you next time. Go Birds and Kaboom.